Welcome to Voices in My Head on Page and Playback. We are characters living inside the head of South African author, poet, lyricist, and storyteller Manda Menzies. Our stories are told in the Wellspring periodicals, but Manda has many voices in her head and has finally found a way for us to pop out and visit. Today, we are exploring the book Ella,
Yes.
Chapter 7, and it brings up a really fascinating question right from the start for you listening.
It really does.
Why is it that it sometimes takes the completely irrational, magical imagination of a 4-year-old to fix a deeply broken, highly rational family?
I mean, it's a phenomenal question. And to really explore that, we have to look at the environment where this family actually operates.
Right.
The contrast between that rational, grounded world and the magical chaos of a child, well, it's central to everything that happens here.
Exactly. So if you are listening, I want you to step directly into this specific scene with us.
Yeah.
It's an old farm kitchen. The air is thick with anticipation and that heavy, comforting heat radiating off an old black stove.
Yeah, you can really picture it.
Nilla is standing there, just completely lost in deep thought, stirring a pot of green bean stew that is just beginning to simmer. And how does that quiet farm tranquility contrast with what's about to happen?
Well, the precision of her movements in this scene is completely captivating. You can see the distinct, meticulous stages of her preparation. I mean, the stew she's making for dinner is nowhere near finished.
No, not at all.
She is at that very crucial early stage, frying the meat and the onions, carefully and continuously turning them so they do not stick to the bottom of the heavy pot.
Right, and all around her, the kitchen table is just covered with the evening's promise. There's a bowl of freshly sliced green beans sitting there waiting for their turn. The potatoes are already peeled.
She's very organized.
Very.
Yeah.
She has even prepared quince, getting it ready to be stewed alongside the main dish. And she's standing there, actively debating whether to make a grated cucumber salad to go with it all.
Yeah, and she calculates that the sharp bite of vinegar and, freshly ground black pepper on the cucumber will perfectly highlight the flavors of the stewed quince. Oh, absolutely.
It is a very deliberate, practiced domestic rhythm. And what is brilliant is how this exact routine physically anchors her.
That is exactly the point I want to highlight for today. If you have ever navigated a household that has been through immense loss or upheaval, you know that routine is not just a chore.
No, it's survival.
It acts as a life raft. The distant, comforting sounds of the farm drifting through the windows, the predictable browning of onions, it creates a profound, quiet tranquility.
A completely controlled environment.
Right. But then the low rumble of an approaching pickup truck completely shatters that silence.
It does. Nella wipes her hands on the small towel hanging from her apron, turns away from the heat of the stove, and walks toward the back door.
And in comes the absolute antithesis of her controlled, quiet kitchen. A total whirlwind.
Oh, complete chaos.
4-year-old Jen bursts through the back door and practically tackles her, throwing his little arms around her waist. Every single cell in his body is just vibrating with pure, unfiltered excitement.
He is breathless. Yes, breathless, and the words are just tumbling out of his mouth in this non-stop stream of babble. He is recounting this massive river adventure, and specifically, he keeps talking about talking stones.
And Nella's reaction is the perfect picture of grounding love. I mean, she doesn't immediately silence him or tell him to quiet down.
Not at all.
She laughs. She completely mirrors his chaotic energy, mimicking his wide-eyed facial expressions as she listens to this incredible tale. She allows him his moment of magic,
Yeah.
She waits patiently for him to finally take a breath between his frantic sentences before she gently places her hands on his shoulders to bring him back to earth.
She asks him simply if it was fun. And Jan, with his eyes wide as saucers, insists with total, unwavering conviction, Auntie Nell, they really talk.
The pure wonder of discovery.
Exactly. But then she reminds him that Sienna's waiting to give him a bath. She warns him that his grandfather will be there soon. And, well, his grandfather absolutely dislikes dirty children sitting at the dinner table.
Right, back to reality.
With a playful little tap on his bottom, she sends him off. He goes running down the hall, already shouting for Sienna so he can tell his incredible story all over again.
And just as quickly as the whirlwind exits, the quiet returns to the kitchen. But the atmosphere shifts entirely because Gailey enters the room.
When Gailey walks in, we finally see that famous restraint of his in full effect. Nella looks over at him and just offers one word. Coffee.
So simple.
Gailey nods, making himself comfortable at the table. Nella goes right back to her practice movements, handling the mugs and the milk, and she sets a tray down right in front of him, making sure everything is perfectly within his reach.
And she immediately starts probing him about Jan's wild stories. She asks about these talking stones and notes that it sounds like someone had quite the adventure out by the river.
Gawi gives this completely non-committal hum. He just smiles at her over the rim of his coffee mug. But Nella is not letting him off the hook.
No, she's not.
She jokingly complains that she is tied to the stove, chained there cooking their meal, and demands that the absolute least he could do is entertain her with a story or two to pass the time.
His response is so effortless. He teases her right back, telling her that she is exactly like Jan. She just wants to hear stories. He deflects with this gentle humor.
But Nella pushes further. She wants to know who this bird lady is, the one Jan cannot stop talking about.
Right.
And I think to understand Gawi in this moment, we have to look at how his mind actually works. Sitting there at the table, Gawi operates like a deep river. On the surface, he's completely calm, not a ripple, but underneath, he is carrying this heavy, undeniable current. He neutralizes all the noise and chaos around him with complete stillness.
That analogy perfectly captures the physical mechanism of what happens next. Gawi very peacefully takes a biscuit. He dips it into his coffee, and with his hands entirely steady and a faint smile touching the corners of his mouth, he answers simply, "Her name is Ella."
Nella just stares at him, open-mouthed.
The brilliant use of physical contrast here cannot be overstated. I mean, the simple, everyday, almost mundane act of dipping a biscuit into coffee stands directly against the massive weight of this announcement.
It's a huge contrast.
The cryptic, understated nature of his answer is not at all what Nella expected. Just by looking at his face and his posture, she realizes that this woman has made a profound, undeniable impact on him.
He does not backtrack.
Yeah.
He does not try to explain away the encounter as just a passing meeting at the river.
No.
He announces, quietly but with absolute firmness, that Ella is someone who is now a part of his life. It is a statement of unshakable fact. It is a brand new reality, and he fully intends to include her in his world going forward.
This revelation is so heavy that it forces Nella to physically lean back in her chair. The dynamic in the room shifts entirely from playful banter to immense seriousness. She asks him, "Are you sure? And what about Jan?"
Which triggers this deep internal reflection from Gawi. He looks at his sister, and he thinks about how their household consists entirely of broken-winged birds.
To understand the weight of Nella's question, you really have to look at the chronology of the tragedies that built this household.
Yes, please explain that for everyone listening.
So, Nella only moved back to the farm to help care for Gailey and Jan after she suffered an unimaginable loss, the sudden death of her own husband and child in a devastating car crash. She is a woman intimately acquainted with how fragile happiness can be.
You also have their father, who is nearing retirement, actively grieving the loss of his beloved wife, their mother.
Exactly. The whole house is built on a foundation of mourning. And then you have Gawi and little Jan. Gawi thinks of himself and his son as a throwaway husband and child.
It's such a harsh term.
It is. They were entirely written off as an afterthought by Gawi's ex-wife, Susan, who traded them in for the illusion of status and wealth.
Now, I actually want to push back on a very common assumption here. When people hear about a man whose wife leaves him, citing his lack of ambition, it's easy to think, oh, he must have just been passive or lazy.
Right, that's the stereotype.
But I don't buy that Gawi was passive at all. His rural legal practice was a highly intentional, community-driven choice rather than a lack of ambition.
Oh, completely. The text clearly establishes his character here. Gawi was incredibly intentional from the start. He never wanted the high status of a massive city firm.
Right.
His choice to practice locally, dictate his own hours, help his aging father with the family farm, and serve a rural community in need that was a highly practical choice backed by a strong moral compass.
But Susan saw the word lawyer and immediately expected a high-status partner in a big firm.
Exactly. She mistook his gentle nature for weakness and a lack of ambition. She failed to realize his calmness was a choice.
Yeah.
So when she abandoned them for a new prospect, viewing her own son, Jan, as a nuisance, Gawi filed for divorce, which was delayed only by Susan's greed.
And the deep bond that was forged between Gawi and Young after that is beautiful. Jan clung to his father like a castaway. Gawi didn't pawn the boy off, he simply incorporated him into his daily tasks.
Right, which explains exactly why Nella is so serious and quietly concerned when she asks her brother if he is absolutely sure about this new woman. She knows what they've been through.
Gawi tells her he has seen Ella in town before, but only recently made contact. He says, with a voice full of quiet seriousness, that yes, he is as sure as anyone can be that she is the woman for him.
And Nella accepts this immediately. The trust between the siblings is absolute. She starts gathering the empty mugs, straightens the tablecloth, and returns to her pots on the stove, simply stating that she looks forward to meeting her.
Here we get this quiet, beautiful moment of aftermath. Gyoe stands up, walks over to his sister at the stove, hugs her warmly from behind, and presses a kiss to her temple.
Thank you, sister.
Yes, it is a profound acknowledgement of everything she does. And then he leaves the kitchen, right?
Yes, the narrative tracks his physical movements perfectly here. He
Oh.
walks down the hall, but he does not go straight to rest or to find Jan. He stops in his study, which adjoins his bedroom.
Right, to work.
He spends a brief period working, answering messages, clearing away urgent documents from his desk. Only when the pressing matters are handled does he take a half-hour shower.
When he emerges, he is freshly dressed. He walks out and takes a seat on the porch, and there is Jan sitting right next to him with a very, very serious expression.
He asks, "Daddy, is the bird lady going to be my new mommy?"
Gyoe calmly asks if Jan wants her to be. And Jan earnestly starts ticking off Ella's qualifications.
Yes.
The beautiful simplicity of Jan's criteria for a mother is just incredible. He says she knows about birds that must be free, stones that can talk, and she has rain in little bottles.
Gyoe listens to this and concludes that they must try to get her to agree, and then they formally shake hands on the decision.
Yes, shaking hands like equal partners. It shows how much Gyoe respects his 4-year-old son.
It's a wonderful scene.
It really is.
Yeah.
Before we go, think about Jan's criteria: magic, freedom, and nature. It makes you wonder what our lives would look like if we use that same childlike wonder to guide our adult choices. It might completely upend your life, just like it's about to upend Gyoe's.
Absolutely.
Well, that signals the end of the chapter. In the next episode of Voices in My Head, the next chapter of Ella will follow. Please visit, subscribe, like, share, and support the independent creative storyteller, Manda Menzies.